What if I told you the milk you've trusted for years, the one in your morning coffee or late night snack, could be quietly damaging your nerves while you sleep? If you're over 60 and you felt tingling in your feet at night, numbness in your toes, burning pain that seems worse when you lie down, or a subtle loss of balance you can't quite explain, this matters more than you think. I'm not talking about rare toxins or extreme diets. I'm talking about everyday milk choices that millions of older Americans consume without a second thought. I've spent decades working with seniors who were told their nerve problems were just aging or something they'd have to live with. In many cases, that wasn't true. The damage wasn't sudden, it was slow, silent, and driven by habits that seemed harmless on the surface. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 common types of milk that can quietly accelerate nerve damage after 60, especially at night when your nervous system is most vulnerable. If you want to protect your balance, your independence, and your future health, you'll want to stay with me until the end. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Sweetened condensed milk. What if the small splash of milk you've added to your coffee for decades isn't harmless comfort at all, but a slow, daily assault on your nerves? Sweetened condensed milk is one of the most overlooked dangers I see in adults over 60, precisely because it feels old-fashioned, familiar, and safe. Many seniors use it the way their parents did: a spoon in morning coffee, a little in tea, sometimes in oatmeal or desserts. It tastes mild, even soothing, but neurologically, it's one of the most aggressive forms of sugar exposure you can give aging nerves. Here's why this matters after 60. Sweetened condensed milk is not just milk, it's milk concentrated with sugar, stripped of fiber, and engineered to hit your bloodstream fast. When you consume it, blood sugar rises sharply within minutes. At younger ages, the body may recover quickly. But later in life, insulin response slows, sugar lingers longer in the blood, and nerves are exposed to a toxic environment for extended periods of time. Nerves are not wires, they are living tissue that depends on steady blood flow, oxygen, and stable chemistry. Repeated sugar spikes act like tiny chemical burns on nerve fibers and the small blood vessels that feed them. Over months and years, this leads to inflammation, oxidative stress, and gradual breakdown of the protective coating around nerves. That's when symptoms begin. First, subtle tingling, then numbness, then burning pain that often shows up at night when you're trying to rest. What makes sweetened condensed milk especially dangerous for seniors is frequency. It's rarely consumed once in a while. It's a daily habit. 1 spoon today doesn't seem like much. But nerves don't experience sugar in single moments. They experience cumulative exposure. Day after day, spike after spike, the damage quietly adds up. Many of my patients with neuropathy tell me the same thing. I don't eat desserts. I don't drink soda. Yet, they've been consuming this concentrated sugar every morning for years without realizing its impact. Another problem is timing. Seniors often use sweetened condensed milk on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. Without protein or fat to slow absorption, sugar enters the bloodstream even faster. That's the worst possible scenario for fragile nerves that already struggle with circulation and repair. This isn't about fear or blame. It's about understanding that what felt safe at 40 can become harmful at 65. Removing sweetened condensed milk doesn't reverse nerve damage overnight, but in many cases, it stops the damage from accelerating, which can mean less burning at night, better sleep, and steadier feet during the day. Now, here's the question that matters most. If one innocent type of milk can quietly harm your nerves this much, what about the others you may be drinking every single week without a second thought? If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Flavored milk, chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. It doesn't feel dangerous because it doesn't feel indulgent, but that's exactly why flavored milk causes so much nerve damage after 60. Many older Americans reach for chocolate milk, vanilla milk, or strawberry milk, believing it's a gentle source of calcium, protein, and comfort. Some drink it because it's easy on the stomach, others because doctors once said, "At least you're getting nutrition." What almost no one explains is that flavored milk is one of the fastest ways to bathe aging nerves in liquid sugar, and aging nerves simply cannot tolerate that exposure the way they once could. Flavored milk is not regular milk with a hint of taste. It is milk combined with added sugars that are already dissolved. That matters. When sugar is liquid, it enters the bloodstream rapidly, often within minutes. After 60, your body's ability to clear sugar efficiently declines. Insulin doesn't respond as quickly. Sugar stays elevated longer. During that time, nerves, especially the long nerves in the feet and hands, are exposed to inflammatory stress that quietly erodes their function. This is why I often see a specific pattern in seniors who drink flavored milk regularly. The first complaint is usually mild tingling or a buzzing sensation in the toes at night. Then numbness creeps in. Eventually, burning pain appears, often worse when lying down. These symptoms aren't random. They reflect repeated blood sugar spikes irritating nerve tissue day after day. Another reason flavored milk is risky for older adults is perception. Seniors often avoid soda, candy, and desserts, believing they've removed sugar from their diet. Flavored milk doesn't register as sugar, it feels responsible. That false sense of safety leads to frequent use, sometimes daily, without awareness of the neurological cost. Nerves don't care whether sugar comes from candy or a beverage labeled milk. The biological effect is the same. There's also a timing issue. Many seniors drink flavored milk alone between meals or as an evening snack. Without protein or fat to slow absorption, sugar floods the bloodstream quickly. At night, when circulation naturally slows, nerves become even more vulnerable. This is one reason burning and electric pain often intensify after sunset. This isn't about taking away comfort or enjoyment. It's about recognizing that after 60, liquid sugar is one of the most efficient ways to worsen neuropathy, even in people who have never been diagnosed with diabetes. Removing flavored milk from the daily routine doesn't cure nerve damage, but it often reduces irritation enough to improve sleep, balance, and overall quality of life. And here's the unsettling part. If flavored milk can harm nerves this quietly while wearing a healthy label, wait until you hear about the type of milk many seniors are encouraged to drink precisely because it claims to be the healthiest choice of all. 3. Non-fat skim milk. It sounds responsible, even protective. But what if choosing non-fat milk after 60 is quietly working against your nerves instead of helping them? For decades, skim milk has been promoted to older Americans as the safe option. Fewer calories, no saturated fat, better for the heart. Many seniors switch to it believing they're doing exactly what their doctors want. Neurologically, however, skim milk creates a problem that aging nerves are especially sensitive to, and almost no one explains it. When fat is removed from milk, the sugar remains. Milk sugar, called lactose, is a carbohydrate that turns into glucose in the bloodstream. Fat normally slows digestion and absorption. Without it, lactose enters the bloodstream much faster. After 60, that speed matters. Blood sugar rises more quickly, insulin response is slower, and sugar stays elevated longer than it did earlier in life. During that window, nerves are exposed to conditions that promote inflammation and microscopic damage. This is where many seniors get confused. They think, I don't eat sweets, I don't drink soda. But nerves don't distinguish between sugar from dessert and sugar from skim milk. They respond to glucose exposure, not food labels. Repeated glucose surges irritate the delicate nerve fibers in the feet and hands and impair the tiny blood vessels that nourish them. Over time, sensation becomes distorted, tingling, numbness, or burning that seems to come out of nowhere. Another issue is how skim milk is commonly consumed. Many older adults drink it alone, pour it over cereal, or use it as a quick snack. These are high carbohydrate situations without adequate protein or fat to buffer absorption. That creates sharper spikes than the same amount of milk consumed with a balanced meal. For nerves already struggling with reduced circulation and slower repair, those spikes are not trivial. I often hear patients say, "But whole milk feels heavier." And that's true, but heaviness isn't the enemy of nerve health. Instability is. Nerves function best when blood sugar stays steady, not when it rises and falls rapidly. In many seniors with early neuropathy symptoms, switching away from skim milk reduces nighttime burning and improves sleep, not because skim milk is toxic, but because it promotes the exact blood sugar pattern nerves can't tolerate later in life. This doesn't mean everyone over 60 must drink whole milk. It means understanding that removing fat doesn't make a food neurologically neutral. After a certain age, speed of absorption becomes more important than calorie count. And here's where things get even more complicated. If skim milk can quietly stress your nerves while being advertised as heart healthy, what about the milks that don't even come from cows, especially the ones labeled plant-based and natural? The answer may surprise you. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Sweetened plant-based milk. Oat milk, almond milk, rice milk. It feels like a smart upgrade. Lighter, plant-based, modern. But for many adults over 60, the milk they switch to for health reasons may be quietly aggravating their nerve damage. Sweetened plant-based milks have become extremely popular among older Americans. They're often chosen to avoid lactose, lower cholesterol, or follow heart-healthy advice. Labels like natural, dairy-free, or plant-based create a sense of safety. Neurologically, however, many of these products create a blood sugar pattern that aging nerves struggle to survive. Here's the critical issue most seniors are never told. Many plant-based milks are not made from whole foods in their natural form. Oat milk and rice milk in particular are produced from refined carbohydrates that are broken down into sugars very quickly during digestion. When sugar is already partially processed before it reaches your body, blood glucose rises faster and higher. After 60, that rapid rise matters far more than the ingredient list suggests. Aging nerves are especially vulnerable to repeated sugar exposure. The long nerves in the feet and hands rely on tiny blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, those vessels become inflamed and less efficient. Over time, Nerves receive less nourishment and become irritated, misfiring signals that show up as tingling, numbness, burning, or electric pain. Many seniors don't connect these symptoms to plant based milk because it feels like a healthy swap. Another hidden danger is frequency. Plant based milks are often used multiple times a day in coffee, cereal, smoothies, or as a standalone drink. Seniors may sip them between meals, believing they're gentle and safe. Without sufficient protein or fat to slow absorption, sugar enters the bloodstream rapidly. This constant exposure leaves nerves in a chronically inflamed state with little opportunity to recover. Even almond milk, which is naturally low in carbohydrates, becomes problematic when sweetened. Added sugars negate any neurological advantage, and because these sugars are dissolved in liquid, they reach nerve tissue faster than solid foods ever could. This is one reason some seniors notice their neuropathy symptoms worsen despite clean eating. There's also a psychological factor at play. When people believe a food is good for them, they rarely question it. That belief leads to consistency, and consistency is what turns mild irritation into long-term nerve damage. Neuropathy doesn't appear overnight. It builds quietly through habits that seem harmless. This doesn't mean plant-based milk is always wrong. It means that sweetened versions are especially risky for nerve health after 60, even in people without diabetes. Removing them often reduces nighttime burning and improves stability, not because the nerves healed instantly, but because the daily insult finally stopped. And now comes the most surprising warning of all. If these modern health marketed milks can quietly stress your nerves, what about a type of milk some seniors are returning to because they believe it's more natural and less processed? That's where the next danger lies. 5. Raw or unpasteurized milk. It's often described as closer to nature, but what if the milk some seniors turn to for purity is quietly making their nerve symptoms worse instead of better? In recent years, I've seen more adults over 60 experiment with raw or unpasteurized milk. The reasoning sounds sensible on the surface: fewer chemicals, less processing, more natural enzymes. For aging nerves, however, this choice introduces risks that are rarely discussed and often misunderstood. Raw milk is fundamentally different from pasteurized milk because it can contain live bacteria and microbial fragments that the body must actively defend against. In younger adults, the immune system often handles this exposure without obvious symptoms. After 60, the immune response changes. Low-grade immune activation becomes more common, and that persistent immune activity fuels chronic inflammation, one of the most powerful amplifiers of nerve pain and neuropathy progression. Inflammation doesn't just cause discomfort, it alters how nerves transmit signals. Inflamed nerves become hypersensitive, firing pain signals more easily and misinterpreting normal sensations as burning, stabbing, or electric pain. This is why some seniors notice that their neuropathy flares unpredictably, even when blood sugar seems controlled. The trigger isn't always sugar, it's immune stress layered on top of already vulnerable nerve tissue. There's another issue many people overlook. Infections don't always announce themselves clearly in older adults. Mild gastrointestinal distress, fatigue, or subtle inflammation may be the only clues. Meanwhile, the nervous system quietly absorbs the impact. Nerves depend on a calm internal environment to survive. When the immune system stays on alert, nerve repair slows and damage accumulates faster. Raw milk can also worsen neuropathy indirectly by affecting nutrient absorption. Chronic inflammation in the gut interferes with the uptake of key nerve protective nutrients, especially vitamin B12 and magnesium. Deficiencies in these nutrients weaken the protective covering around nerves and impair signal transmission. Over time, symptoms intensify, not because one thing went wrong, but because multiple stressors stacked up silently. Many seniors who choose raw milk do so because they want control over their health and distrust overly processed foods. That motivation is understandable. The problem is that natural does not automatically mean neurologically safe, especially in an aging body. Nerve tissue after 60 has less margin for error. What once felt energizing or harmless can now tip the balance toward pain, numbness, and instability. This doesn't mean raw milk causes neuropathy on its own. Neuropathy is rarely that simple, but in a body already dealing with slower circulation, reduced nerve repair, and years of cumulative stress, raw milk can become one more inflammatory burden nerves don't need. And this leads to the most important realization of all. If 5 very different types of milk can quietly stress your nerves in 5 different ways, the real question isn't just what to avoid, it's how to choose what truly supports nerve stability, protection, and independence after 60. That's exactly what we need to talk about next. Protecting your nerves is about awareness, not fear. As we get older, the body becomes quieter, but also more fragile. Nerves, in particular, don't announce trouble loudly at first. They whisper. A little tingling at night, a faint numbness in the toes, a burning sensation that only appears when the lights go out and the house finally gets quiet. Many seniors dismiss these signs as aging or something to tolerate. That assumption is often where real damage begins. What this entire discussion has shown is not that milk is bad or that one single habit causes neuropathy. The deeper truth is more important and more empowering. After 60, the nervous system has far less margin for error. Small, repeated stresses that once meant nothing can now shape your health trajectory for years to come. Sleep is a particularly vulnerable time. Blood flow slows. Inflammation tends to rise. Nerves that are already irritated become louder. That's why neuropathy symptoms often worsen at night and why nighttime burning or electric pain should never be ignored. These are not just comfort issues. They are signals that nerve tissue is under stress and may be approaching a tipping point. Understanding what quietly aggravates nerves, whether it's hidden sugar, rapid blood sugar swings, chronic inflammation, or poor nutrient support, allows you to intervene before damage becomes permanent. This is the difference between reacting to pain later and protecting function now. Neuropathy is not just about discomfort, it's about balance, confidence, mobility, and independence. Looking ahead 1, 3, or 5 years, the path you're on today matters more than most people realize. Continued nerve irritation often leads to worsening numbness, loss of sensation in the feet, higher fall risk, and reduced independence. On the other hand, stabilizing the internal environment, reducing inflammatory triggers, avoiding daily nerve irritants, and supporting nerve health can slow or halt progression. That alone can preserve quality of life far into the future. This isn't about perfection or extreme rules. It's about understanding correctly, adjusting intelligently, and acting early. Many seniors feel relieved when they realize they don't need a miracle cure. They need fewer daily insults to their nervous system and more consistency. Nerves don't require dramatic interventions. They need time, stability, and protection. Aging doesn't mean surrendering control. It means being more selective, more informed, and more proactive. When you understand how everyday choices affect your nerves, you move from fear to clarity. And clarity is what allows you to protect your body, not just for today, but for the years ahead. Because the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to remain steady, aware, and independent while you do. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.